Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, we journey into a realm where myth and wisdom breathe as one. The world is ancient, yet alive with whispers of gods and mortals alike. Among them stands Athena, daughter of Zeus, radiant with clarity and strength of mind. She is not only a goddess of wisdom, but also a guardian of truth in troubled times. For the world has grown clouded, veiled in shadows of doubt, rumor, and false words. Mortals search for light, for guidance, for voices that will not waver or deceive. Athena hears their call, rising like a flame against the endless night of confusion. She resolves to gather a circle, not of warriors with swords, but of warriors of spirit. They are seekers of honesty, keepers of memory, defenders of trust, and voices of clarity. Each will be chosen not for might of hand, but for the courage to speak with truth. This story is not of battles fought with steel, but of hearts tested by silence and choice. It is a tale of those who dare to walk with light when the path is hidden. Athena begins her search, and the world waits for the warriors of truth to rise. The world lay beneath a quiet veil, yet the silence was not peace, but confusion. Shadows moved between words, twisting them until truth seemed lost in the mist. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, watched from her high seat among the marble halls of Olympus. Her eyes were steady, her heart keen, for she could sense the unease rising in mortal lands. She had seen this before, but never had falsehood spread so wide and so deep. Stories once told with honesty had become tangled in rumors, whispers, and deceit. Promises made were broken. Truth was hidden under layers of glitter and noise. Yet mortals still longed for something brighter, a voice they could trust without fear. Athena felt their call. It reached her like a song sung in desperation across the winds. She knew the world needed guardians, not warriors of steel, but warriors of light. Her plan began not with a trumpet or a storm, but with a whisper in the night. The whisper grew within her mind, guiding her toward the first step of her journey. She would seek one who searched not for power, but for knowledge beyond measure. Somewhere among mortals was a spirit devoted to questions and learning. A heart that would bend toward the truth, even when answers brought discomfort. Athena descended quietly, her presence unseen, carried on the breath of the dawn. She came upon a city filled with towers of stone, its streets humming with life. Merchants bargained, children laughed, scholars read in shaded courtyards. In the midst of this life was a young man with eyes fixed on ancient scrolls. He was not grand, nor dressed in silk, but his mind burned with an endless flame. He asked questions that others would not dare, questions that unsettled the comfortable. Why does the river bend here and not there? What is the truth behind the stars above? His words were gentle, yet his hunger for answers carried a quiet strength. Athena watched as others teased him, calling him a dreamer lost in thought. But he did not turn away from their laughter. He kept seeking, kept asking. In his heart, truth was not a weapon, but a compass to guide his steps. When night fell, he would write by the dim glow of a single oil lamp. He wrote down every discovery, every question, every fragment of wisdom he found. He had no teacher but the world, and yet he was already a master of humility. Athena drew near, her voice like a breeze brushing past his ear. You search without end. Do you seek truth, or do you seek only answers? The young man lifted his head, startled by a voice he could not see. I seek truth, he whispered, for answers may fade, but truth remains. Athena's eyes gleamed with pride. This was the spirit she had been seeking. A seeker, not content with illusion, not afraid of the long road to understanding. She stepped forward, letting her form shimmer into his sight. The young man gasped, for never had he seen such radiance of wisdom and calm. "Do not fear," Athena said. "I am here to call you to a greater purpose." He bowed his head, though awe and wonder filled his voice. "What purpose could one such as I serve?" "You will walk as a warrior of truth," Athena declared softly. "Not with sword or shield, but with courage to keep seeking and never accept the lie." The young man trembled, yet a quiet joy filled his heart, like sunlight breaking dawn. Athena placed her hand above his brow, and warmth spread through his spirit. From that moment, his search was no longer his alone. It was part of something greater. He was the first flame of light in a world clouded by shadow. Athena knew others must follow, but every journey begins with one step. And so the seeker of knowledge joined her, the first of the warriors of truth. The morning sun rose gently, painting the world in gold. Yet Athena's gaze moved toward a distant village. She had found the seeker of knowledge, but her quest for truth was far from complete. One spirit alone could not stand against the endless tides of falsehood. She needed another, one whose voice rang clear like a bell cutting through fog. The whisper within her heart guided her steps to a valley where fields swayed in quiet rhythm. At the center of this valley stood a village, modest yet alive with simple joys. Children played, farmers worked the earth, and merchants called out with cheerful tones. But even in this peace, Athena sensed the shadow of untruth lingering like hidden smoke. She moved unseen among the people until she heard a voice rise above the crowd. It was strong, steady, and unafraid, though it spoke without anger or cruelty. A young woman stood before the villagers, her eyes bright with fire and resolve. Two men argued over a field, each claiming the land was his by right. The crowd watched, uncertain, as mistrust grew and words turned sharp. The young woman stepped forward, raising her hand for silence. "Truth is not found in shouting louder than another," she said calmly. Her words carried a weight that stilled the restless air. She listened to both men, asking questions with patience and care. Where others might rush to judgment, she sought the quiet details hidden between words. She uncovered the truth. The land was shared by their fathers, meant to serve both families. The men fell silent, shamed by their quarrel, yet relieved to see fairness restored. The villagers murmured in respect, for they trusted her judgment and her courage. Athena watched with pride, for here was a voice that carried justice without fear. The young woman did not speak for herself, but for the sake of what was right. Later, as the sun dipped low, Athena revealed her presence in a quiet grove. The woman entered the grove, her steps cautious, drawn by a sense of unseen power. Athena stood before her, radiant yet calm, her gaze soft as moonlight on water. "You spoke with truth today," Athena said. "You defended fairness when others faltered." The woman bowed her head, but did not tremble. Her voice remained firm. "I only said what must be said. No one should win through deceit." Athena's heart warmed, for strength was nothing without clarity of spirit. "You carry the voice of justice," the goddess declared. "It must not fade into silence." The young woman's eyes widened, but her resolve did not break. "What would you have of me?" she asked. "I would have you join me," Athena answered, "to stand as a warrior of truth, not with weapons, but with your voice, a shield against lies and injustice." The woman thought deeply, for such a call was no small burden. But in her heart, She already knew her answer, clear as the stars above. If truth needs a voice, then I will speak. I will not let silence protect the lie. Athena smiled, lifting her hand in blessing. Warmth flowed like light into the woman's spirit, filling her with calm strength. From that moment, her voice became more than her own. It became part of a greater harmony, joined with the seeker of knowledge. Two flames now burned where shadows once gathered. Athena knew the path ahead was long, yet with each step, the light grew brighter. And so the voice of justice took her place, the second of the warriors of truth. The night was calm, yet Athena's heart pressed onward. For two voices were not enough to guard the truth. She knew another was waiting, not in the crowd of many, but in the quiet of solitude. Her path turned to the edges of the world, where forests stretched wide and rivers sang softly. There, far from villages and courts, she sought one who spoke little, but understood much. In silence, truth often hides, waiting for those who listen with more than their ears. Athena followed the hush of the trees until she came to a clearing bathed in moonlight. A small hut stood there, plain and weathered, touched by years of patience and stillness. Inside lived a hermit, a figure wrapped in simple robes, his eyes deep with unspoken thought. He rarely left his dwelling, yet people journeyed miles to ask for his wisdom. He listened long before he answered, and sometimes he spoke not at all. Yet those who came to him found clarity, as if silence itself had cleansed their hearts. Athena watched from the shadow of the trees as a traveler arrived one quiet evening. The traveler's heart was heavy, clouded by doubt and fear of choices yet to come. The hermit offered no immediate reply, only motioned to sit upon the ground. Hours passed as the fire crackled, the night grew deeper, and words went unspoken. At last, the hermit spoke a single sentence, gentle yet sharp as a blade of light. You already know the truth. Fear alone hides it from your eyes. The traveler's tears flowed, not from pain, but from release, for he understood. He bowed deeply, thanking the hermit, and left with a heart lighter than before. Athena stepped forward then, her presence shimmering among the trees like dawn breaking. The hermit did not startle. He lifted his gaze as though he had been expecting her. You have listened when others rushed to speak, Athena said, her voice steady. You have found truth not in noise, but in the silence between breaths. The hermit inclined his head, his words soft and few. Truth does not shout, he said. It waits for those willing to be still. Athena's heart stirred, for his spirit was tempered by quiet strength. You are needed, she told him. The world drowns in voices, yet none pause to hear. Will you join me as a warrior of truth, guarding not with speech, but with listening? The hermit's eyes closed, his breath slow, as though he was listening even then. Finally, he nodded, not with haste, but with calm certainty. If truth calls, I will walk with it. My silence will be its shelter. Athena lifted her hand, and a warmth like gentle wind touched his brow. No thunder struck, no flame roared. Only peace settled deeper into his soul. He became the listener of silence, the third to join the circle of truth. Now 3 flames burned: the seeker, the voice, and the listener. Each different. Yet together they formed a harmony stronger than shadow. Athena knew the journey was still long, but step by step, light was rising. The world, though darkened by lies, would soon know the strength of truth reborn. The dawn broke softly, and Athena's steps carried her beyond forests and fields to lands where memory shaped destiny. She had found the seeker of knowledge, the voice of justice, and the listener of silence. Yet her circle of truth was still incomplete, for wisdom must also be preserved in time. Truth, if forgotten, could fade like mist in the morning sun, leaving only shadows behind. Athena turned her gaze toward a village where firelight glowed late into the night. There, at the center, lived an elder whose words held the weight of generations. He was the keeper of memories, though the world did not yet call him by that name. Children gathered by his side, eyes wide as he wove tales of the old days. His voice was gentle, yet every word rang with the clarity of remembered truth. He did not change stories to please or to frighten, but spoke them as they were. The children listened, not only with ears, but with hearts that trusted him fully. When adults questioned, he repeated the same words without fear of doubt or ridicule. Athena watched as he sat by the hearth, holding not scrolls, but memory itself. A traveler once asked him, "Why not write your stories so they never fade?" The elder smiled, his face lined with years, and shook his head slowly. Words written may be altered, but memory held with care endures in the spirit. His stories carried sorrow and joy, triumph and loss, yet he never bent them to ease. Athena felt a deep respect stir within her heart, for here was a guardian of truth. Later, when the hearth grew dim and the village fell into quiet rest, she approached him. The elder looked up, his eyes still sharp though framed with the years of his life. He did not tremble at her presence, for he seemed to recognize her spirit. "You guard memories as if they are treasures," Athena said softly. "They are treasures," the elder replied. "Without them, truth is lost and lies take root." Athena's gaze held his, steady and unblinking, as though she weighed his soul. "You do not bend stories for praise or fear. You honor truth even when it wounds." The elder nodded. "If we soften the past, we lose its lesson. Truth must stand unbroken." Athena's heart lifted with pride, for he spoke not as a man, but as a guardian eternal. "I ask you," she said, "to join me, to keep memory alive among the warriors of truth." The elder breathed deeply, his hands resting upon the wood of his chair. "To carry memory is already my duty," he replied. "If truth calls, I cannot refuse." Athena lifted her hand, blessing him with light that shimmered like golden threads of history. It wrapped around his spirit, binding memory to purpose and memory to light. From that moment, he was more than a storyteller. He was the keeper of memories. He would walk with the seeker, the voice, and the listener, guarding truth from forgetfulness. 4 flames now shone together, steady and unbroken against the gathering dark. Each flame unique, yet together they formed a shield no shadow could pierce. Athena knew others still waited, scattered like hidden stars across the mortal world. But step by step, her circle grew, and truth rose brighter in every corner. The journey was far from its end, yet hope had begun to take root. And the keeper of memories, with wisdom deep as time itself, joined the warriors of truth. The night sky stretched vast above, filled with stars that shimmered like silent witnesses of destiny. Athena walked onward, her path guided not by roads, but by the pull of unseen truth. The seeker, the voice, the listener, and the keeper followed with steady hearts. Yet even as their circle grew, Athena knew another flame of truth still waited. Truth was not only sought, spoken, heard, or remembered, it was also lived. For without action, truth could wither like a seed never planted in soil. Their steps led them toward a valley where rivers crossed like silver ribbons of fate. At the center stood a quiet figure, hands working earth with patience and care. This was the weaver of deeds, though the world knew him simply as a humble farmer. He did not speak much, nor did he boast, yet his life itself spoke volumes. Each seed he planted was chosen with intention, each act carried meaning beyond himself. When storms came, he rebuilt patiently, without bitterness, without false blame. When neighbors quarreled, he listened, then acted with fairness that healed unseen wounds. Athena watched from afar, noting not his words, but his living truth. She saw how the village trusted him, not because of promises, but because of deeds. The children followed his example, learning that truth was shown, not merely spoken. The elders nodded with respect, knowing his actions carried weight deeper than gold. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Athena approached him where he stood by the river. The farmer turned, his hands still rough with work, his eyes steady as the earth. "You live truth in every act," Athena said, her voice low yet bright. "I live only as I must," he answered. "Words without deeds are hollow shells." Athena felt his spirit, strong not in noise, but in unyielding presence. "You understand that truth must be lived, even when unseen by the world." The man nodded slowly. A life false to itself builds nothing worth keeping. Athena's heart filled with quiet pride, for she had found what she sought. "I ask you," she said, "to walk with me, to weave deeds into the circle of truth." The farmer looked at his hands, then at the soil beneath his feet. "I will come," he said, "for truth lived is truth shared, and it must not stand alone." Athena raised her hand, blessing him with a light that flowed like rivers of purpose. It bound his spirit to the eternal vow of truth made flesh in action. In that moment, he became the weaver of deeds, a guardian whose life was testimony. The seeker welcomed him with quiet nod, the voice with a proud smile. The listener inclined his head, and the keeper spoke of memory made real. Together, their circle grew stronger, 5 flames burning brighter against the night. Each flame carried a gift unique, yet all bound by a single purpose, unbroken. Athena saw how their presence balanced one another like stars, forming a constellation. She knew that the path ahead would demand more than knowledge, justice, memory, or deeds. It would demand unity, for only together could they face the shadows rising. The weaver of deeds stood tall among them, his silence steady, his truth undeniable. Step by step, the warriors of truth grew, carrying light deeper into the world. And so the journey continued, with hope shining like dawn beyond the horizon. The wind carried whispers across the valley, gentle yet filled with the weight of unseen meaning. Athena and her companions walked in silence, each flame of truth steady in their hearts. The seeker's eyes searched the horizon, the voice listened for cries of injustice, the listener for silence. The keeper of memories carried the past, while the weaver of deeds lived truth in every act. Yet Athena knew their circle was not complete, for truth also demanded courage against fear. For truth, if left unguarded, could be silenced by shadows of doubt and weakness. They journeyed toward the mountains, where stone cliffs rose like walls of forgotten secrets. There, among the high ridges, they found a woman training alone at dawn's first light. Her stance was firm, her movements balanced, her spirit calm as the earth beneath her. She was called the guardian of resolve, though no one yet knew her true name. Villagers told stories of her, how she never faltered when storms shook the valley. She did not boast strength, but she stood firm when others bent to fear. When danger threatened, she calmed the frightened, steadying them with presence rather than force. Athena watched her in silence, admiring how every gesture spoke of discipline and courage. This was no fighter for glory, but a soul who refused to yield to despair. At night, by firelight, Athena stepped forward and addressed her with quiet respect. "You guard not only yourself, but those who cannot stand," Athena said softly. The woman met her gaze, eyes steady as still water, unbroken by hesitation. "I do what must be done," she answered. "Courage is not for pride, but for truth." Athena felt her spirit shine like iron tempered in sacred flame. "You understand that fear must never rule truth, and resolve must be its shield." The woman nodded. "If truth falters, the shadows grow. I will never let it fall." Athena's heart swelled with certainty, knowing she had found the guardian of resolve. "I ask you to join us," Athena said, "to stand with the warriors of truth." The woman rose, strong yet humble, her voice like stone against the wind. "I will come. For truth needs not only words, memory, or deeds. It needs resolve." Athena raised her hand, and light flowed around the woman like a mantle of flame. It wrapped her spirit in strength eternal, binding her courage to the circle of truth. From that moment, she became the guardian of resolve, unshakable flame among them. The seeker bowed in respect. The voice offered praise. The listener acknowledged her silence. The keeper welcomed her as memory's shield, and the weaver smiled at her steadfastness. Together, they formed 6 flames, brighter and stronger, rising against the gathering shadows. Each carried a gift unique, yet together they formed harmony greater than any alone. Athena saw their circle growing, like dawn spreading across the silent mountains. Still, she knew their journey was far from its destined end. For truth's path was long, and more companions of light still waited unseen. But with the guardian of resolve among them, their hope burned stronger than ever. And so, the warriors of truth walked onward, their circle unbroken, their purpose eternal. The forest lay before them, vast and ancient, where trees whispered secrets carried through endless time. Athena led her companions into the green shadows, their footsteps softened by moss and leaves. The seeker sought wisdom in the rustle of branches. The voice listened for cries among roots. The listener heard silence deeper than stone, while the keeper remembered songs of forgotten groves. The weaver of deeds walked steady, and the guardian of resolve shone with calm endurance. Yet Athena knew one more spirit of truth waited in the heart of this forest. Truth, she thought, was not only in words, deeds, or courage, but in harmony itself. Without harmony, truth could fracture into pieces, each shard cutting rather than healing. Deep within the forest, a melody drifted like light through the canopy of leaves. It was not sung by voice, but by the gentle hands of a young musician. She played a simple flute carved from river reed, each note weaving stillness and peace. The animals gathered near her, fox and bird, deer and hare, resting without fear. Even the trees seemed to lean closer, their branches swaying in rhythm with her song. Athena watched from the shadows, her heart quieted by the music's subtle power. This was not music for praise, but a song to restore balance where it faltered. Villagers spoke of her as the bringer of harmony, though she called herself no such name. When quarrels broke among neighbors, she played, and anger softened into understanding. When grief weighed heavy, her melody lifted sorrow, though she spoke no comforting word. Athena stepped forward, her presence luminous as the moon filtering through the branches. The musician lowered her flute, but did not bow, for her spirit was unafraid. Your song binds hearts as truth binds the soul, Athena said, voice clear and warm. The musician met her gaze with eyes that reflected both innocence and deep wisdom. I only play what the forest whispers, she answered. Harmony is the truth of all. Athena felt her certainty grow, knowing she had found the seventh flame of truth. You understand that truth must heal, not divide. You live as the bringer of harmony. The musician bowed her head gently, the flute still resting, in her hands of grace. I will come with you, she said, for truth without harmony is truth broken apart. Athena raised her hand, blessing her with light that shimmered like notes in the air. The light wrapped her spirit in a song eternal, carrying unity into the circle. From that moment, she became the bringer of harmony, flame of peace among the warriors. The seekers smiled at her wisdom. The voice welcomed her balance. The listener heard her silence. The keeper recognized her as memory's melody. The weaver honored her song in deeds. The guardian bowed in respect, knowing courage too must flow with harmony to endure. Together they stood, 7 flames burning brighter, uniting knowledge, justice, memory, deeds, courage, and song. Athena saw how their light grew stronger, like dawn expanding across the forest canopy. Still, she knew their path reached further, for truth demanded yet more voices of light. But with the bringer of harmony, the circle deepened, strong in peace and balance. Step by step, they continued, carrying the song of truth into a waiting world. And so, their journey moved onward, the forest echoing with harmony that would never fade. The road carried them out of the forest, where harmony lingered like fragrance after gentle rain. Athena walked at the front, her eyes lifted to the horizon, glowing with pale fire. 7 companions followed, each flame steady, each spirit bound by the vow of truth. The seeker of knowledge carried questions, the voice of justice spoke fairness. The listener of silence held stillness. The keeper of memories guarded the past. The weaver of deeds lived truth in action. The guardian of resolve stood firm in courage. And the bringer of harmony wove peace where discord threatened to take root. Yet Athena knew their circle was still unfinished, for truth must also shine with vision. Without vision, truth could stumble, unable to see paths that stretched into tomorrow. Their journey led them to the sea, endless and shifting, a mirror of dreams. Upon its shores, they found an artist painting images not of the present, but of hope. Her canvas showed cities at peace, rivers unpolluted, children laughing beneath open skies. She was called the Dreamer of Light, though she gave no name to her gift. Her art was not for wealth or pride, but to remind souls of what could be. Villagers gathered around her, their burdens lightened by glimpses of possibility. Athena watched her work, seeing not only colors, but courage hidden within each stroke. The artist painted truth not as it was, but as it longed to become. This was no denial of reality, but a vision strong enough to guide it forward. At dusk, Athena approached her, the tide whispering against the sand like timeless prayer. Your vision shines beyond shadows, Athena said, her voice carrying the weight of dawn. The artist looked up, eyes alight with dreams, her hands still stained with paint. I only paint what truth whispers to me, she replied. Hope is truth yet to bloom. Athena felt her certainty deepen, knowing this was the flame that saw beyond. You understand that truth must be seen in tomorrow, not only remembered in yesterday. The artist nodded, her brush resting upon the canvas glowing in twilight's glow. I will come, she said. For truth without vision is truth that cannot grow. Athena raised her hand, blessing her with light that shimmered like stars upon water. It wrapped her spirit in radiance, binding vision to the eternal circle of truth. From that moment, she became the dreamer of light, carrying hope as her flame. The seeker admired her wisdom, the voice welcomed her promise, the listener valued her silence. The keeper of memories bowed, the weaver honored her inspiration, the guardian her strength, and the bringer of harmony smiled, for her song now had a vision to follow. Together they stood, 8 flames burning with unity, each unique yet all bound as one. Athena saw how their light grew vast, stretching like constellations across the night sky. Still, she knew more waited, for truth was many-sided, deeper than even vision could show. But with the dreamer of light, hope became part of their shield against the dark. Their steps carried them onward, the sea behind, the horizon ahead, their purpose eternal. And so the warriors of truth walked on, guided by vision that would never fade. The path wound upward into the mountains, where the air was sharp and the silence almost holy. Athena's cloak caught the wind, her figure steady, her eyes fixed on the heights above. 8 companions followed, each flame bright, though the climb tested their breath and strength. The stones beneath their feet echoed, as if the mountain itself listened to their steps. Snow crowned the peaks, and clouds coiled like serpents of mist around jagged ridges. It was here, Athena knew, they would find the one whose truth was carved in stone. For truth was not only dream or memory, but also discipline, shaped by patience and order. They reached a plateau where a single figure knelt, carving symbols upon a great tablet. The chisels struck slowly, not rushed, each line exact, each mark full of purpose. This was the architect of order, whose gift was structure, who gave form where chaos wandered. He did not speak as they approached, but his work itself was a voice of clarity. Athena studied his designs, shapes bound by harmony, lines that guided vision into strength. Every stroke reminded her that truth required discipline, not drifting aimlessly like clouds. At last, the architect laid his tool down, his gaze lifting with calm, unwavering eyes. "You seek truth," he said, his voice deep, carrying the weight of stone and time. "Truth must endure, and endurance requires order, for without it all flames scatter into dust." Athena bowed slightly, her hand resting over her heart, acknowledging his wisdom. "Will you join us?" she asked, "to build a path that holds firm against shadows?" The architect's eyes flickered, as though testing the strength of her request against his resolve. "I will join," he said, "but not for glory. I join so that truth may stand unbroken." Athena lifted her hand, blessing him with light that glowed steady as iron beneath fire. The circle tightened, now 9, each flame distinct, each bound by sacred vow. The seeker of knowledge saw wisdom in his structure. The voice of justice welcomed his fairness. The listener of silence respected his stillness. The keeper of memories recognized his permanence. The weaver of deeds honored his discipline. The guardian of resolve stood in kinship with his strength. The bringer of harmony found balance in his order. And the dreamer of light saw how his patterns gave shape to vision. Together, they felt the circle grow stronger, no longer fragile against winds of doubt. Athena gazed at the mountain's height, feeling the architect's truth anchoring their purpose. Yet even here, with order joined, she knew the circle was not yet complete. For truth was not only knowledge, vision, or order. It must also live in courage's song. Still, as the sun dipped low, painting the peaks in fire, Their hearts burned steady. The 9 flames glowed as one, their lights spilling like rivers into the shadowed valleys. Night fell, but their circle did not waver, their purpose bright against the encroaching dark. And so the warriors of truth carried onward, guided by Athena, strengthened by Order's gift. The valley opened before them, wide and quiet, filled with grasses swaying like whispers in the wind. Athena led her companions down the slope, their 9 flames steady against the growing dusk. Though their circle was strong, she knew truth was not yet complete without its living heart. For truth was not only knowledge, memory, harmony, order, or vision. It must also walk in courage. They crossed the valley until they saw a lone figure standing before a deep river. The current rushed fiercely, foaming white as if daring anyone to step across. The figure did not move, yet his presence radiated strength, as if fear bowed before him. Athena approached, her steps calm, her eyes studying the silent guardian of the river. His hands were scarred by labor, his back straight, his gaze fixed beyond the waters. "You wait," Athena said gently. "Why do you stand here at the edge of crossing?" The man's voice rumbled like thunder rolling in the distance. "I wait for those who fear," he said. "I cross so they may see it as possible." Athena felt the weight of his words, simple yet fierce, carrying the essence of courage. "Do you walk alone?" she asked. "I walk with anyone who dares take one step," he answered. "For courage is born in action." The river roared louder, yet the man did not flinch, his eyes unwavering. Athena extended her hand, the light of her presence soft yet unshakable. "Then you are the flame of courage," she said. "Come with us, for truth must breathe through you." The man nodded, his strength calm and quiet, not loud, not boasting, but unbreakable. He stepped forward, placing his hand in hers, accepting the bond of truth's eternal circle. Athena's blessing shone, wrapping him in light like golden fire across a shield of iron. The circle grew, now 10 flames, steady, fierce, each illuminating a face of truth. The seeker of knowledge admired his resolve. The voice of justice welcomed his fairness. The listener of silence honored his steady presence. The keeper of memories his endurance. The weaver of deeds saw his action. The guardian of resolve found kinship in him. The bringer of harmony valued his calm. The dreamer of light saw how courage guided vision. The architect of order bowed, seeing how courage gave strength to every structure. Together, they stood stronger, 10 flames bound, their circle a living constellation on earth. Athena looked to the rushing river, knowing it symbolized the doubts and fears of all souls. With the flame of courage now joined, the waters seemed less fierce, the current less daunting. Truth was no longer fragile, for courage had entered its heart, teaching it to endure. The group crossed the valley as twilight deepened, their path lit by the union of flames. Athena smiled faintly, sensing that the circle neared its destined fullness. Yet still, one flame remained missing, one truth yet unspoken, one presence yet to join. For truth, she knew, must not only guide, protect, and endure. It must also live in love. The night sky arched above them, filled with stars as bright as their joined spirits. And so they walked on, 10 flames strong, unyielding before the shadows that stirred beyond. The night stretched wide, stars blazing like eternal watchfires across the heavens. Athena stood at the center of her circle, 10 flames burning bright around her. Yet she knew one flame remained, the final essence to complete the truth's eternal whole. For truth without love was hollow, strong but cold, steady yet without warmth to heal. They journeyed into a meadow where moonlight pooled like silver over quiet grass. There, a young woman sat among wildflowers, her hands open, her eyes full of gentleness. She touched each flower as though it were sacred, her smile soft as dawn. Children played nearby, their laughter rising like bells, drawn to her kindness. Athena approached, her presence calm, her voice carrying reverence. "You are the flame of love," she said, though the woman had not spoken a word. The woman lifted her gaze, and her eyes shone with a light that needed no proof. "I am no flame," she whispered. "I am only one who listens, who cares, who holds." Athena smiled, bowing her head. "That is why you are needed, for truth breathes through love." The woman rose, her movements graceful, as if the earth itself upheld her steps. "I will walk with you," she said, "for truth without love becomes burden, not blessing." Athena lifted her hand, blessing her with light that glowed tender as morning sun. The circle closed, 11 flames bound, a whole truth at last, radiant and unshakable. The seeker of knowledge found meaning, the voice of justice found mercy. The listener of silence heard compassion, the keeper of memories felt healing. The weaver of deeds found purpose, the guardian of resolve found strength renewed. The bringer of harmony found fullness, the dreamer of light saw hope deepened. The architect of order found balance, the flame of courage found gentleness. And together they stood, bound by love, the final essence of truth. Athena looked to them, her eyes alight with pride and serenity. "You are the warriors of truth," she declared, her voice ringing like a timeless song. "You carry knowledge, justice, silence, memory, action, resolve, harmony, vision, order, courage, and love. These are the faces of truth, whole and eternal, never fading, never falling." The flames rose higher, weaving together, forming a great crown of light across the night. The shadows retreated, unable to endure the union of truth and love. Villages awoke, their hearts lifted, as though they too had been touched by dawn. Children dreamed without fear, elders spoke with wisdom, and neighbors reached out in peace. The world itself seemed to breathe easier, its wounds softened, its path clear. Athena stepped back, her task fulfilled, her heart steady. The circle was whole, and truth now walked among the living. "Carry this light," she told them, "not as a weapon, but as a guide for all. For truth shines brightest not in power, but in kindness shared." The warriors bowed, their flames glowing as one, promising to guard and nurture the light. Together they set forth, their steps echoing across valleys, rivers, mountains, and seas. Wherever they walked, hope awakened, love blossomed, and truth stood unbroken. The stars above bore witness, eternal guardians of their vow. Athena's figure shimmered, becoming one with the constellations, eternal as the truth itself. The circle of 11 flames carried forward, guiding the world with wisdom, strength, and love. And so the story of Athena and the warriors of truth became not ending, but beginning. For truth endures wherever hearts are brave enough to live it, and kind enough to share it.